Welcome to Morgan County. This quaint nook of Georgia is located just northeast of Atlanta. Morgan County is primarily an agricultural community, with only about 30% of its residents having a bachelor's degree or higher. Madison is the center of Morgan County. It's the most developed area and offers a wider variety of options for residents, including shopping, green spaces and sidewalks, and most importantly, grocery stores. All of the major grocery stores in Morgan County are located in Madison, some of which are very pricey and only sell locally grown produce, which means that if you live outside of Madison, it's a 20 to 30-minute drive just to get your groceries. Virginia surveyed a few residents from Madison County to get their insight on the community.
What's your name and occupation, and how long have you lived in Morgan County?
Kathleen Sims. I'm a secretary, and I've been here since 2007, so almost 20 years.
Are you aware of the public health resources in Madison, Georgia?
Yeah, pretty much. The health department, and then there's the local doctors and the ER.
How do you typically find out about these? Just on maps or?
Usually,
Word
yeah,
mouth?
internet,
Yeah.
looking up doctors. I think they work well. Cost is still a problem, but for the most part, I think they do good.
Okay. Have you and your family used it often, these public health resources?
Sometimes, usually the hospital, or their local doctor.
What do you think is the biggest struggle for your community in general?
Kathleen expressed her dissatisfaction with insurance culture in America, and even though this doesn't answer the question Virginia necessarily was asking, it provides valuable insight into how little the general public may know about public health resources. As we just heard, when Kathleen was asked about public health resources, she began speaking about private practitioners, rather than actual public health resources such as SNAP or WSC. Virginia also performed a secondary interviews with two individuals, Sarah and Bob.
What's each of your names, and what do you do here, and how long have you lived in Morgan County?
Okay, well, I'm Sarah Wybell. I'm the Main Street Director for the City of Madison.
Okay.
So I grew up in Morgan County, had moved away for work and school, grad school, and have moved back afterwards, and like I said, working for the city.
So my name's Bob Furr. I've only been here since November, Thanksgiving. My family's been here for a while, and I'm starting a historic trolley tour and transportation company in the city.
Are you guys aware of public health resources in your county?
We have the health department, that's the Morgan County Health Department. They are great resources for vaccines, COVID testing, other flu testing, and some other medications and OCPs, other things that way that people might need.
Do you guys notice any nutritionally related problems in the community? Any kind of food deserts, lack of grocery stores?
Well, for me, having moved here from Atlanta, the one supermarket and Walmart is a shock. So I'm used to Trader Joe's and Sprouts and Publix and Kroger and all that. It's just a smaller resources. The everything closing so early is a little bit interesting, like, restaurants and everything closing at 9 and that sort of thing.
There's only that Ingles and Walmart, basically. We don't have a downtown grocery store. We do have community roots, but they're a local organic farm to table stuff, but they have a smaller option of what they provide, and it's usually more expensive because it is the local options.
Sarah continued to explain the variety of issues that residents face in securing food. In addition to there only being two major grocery stores in the area, they are also far away from the center of town. With extremely limited public transportation options, residents either have to drive or walk to the store. This could mean up to a 15-minute drive or a 2-hour walk from the center of town just to secure food for the week. And it's not uncommon for people in the community to be without reliable transportation.
And I do sense there's a fair, stark economic contrast in Morgan County and Madison. That there's definitely a gap between economic levels for sure.
Bob continues by expanding on the overwhelming class difference in the county, explaining that there are people who live in extreme wealth, while others struggle to make ends meet. Madison may be the center of Morgan County, but it definitely is not encompassing of the entire area. Megan explored Buckhead, which is a small community just east of Madison. Here, she was able to interview Nancy Brock, a retiree who has lived in Morgan County for all her life.
Are there any nutrition-related problems that you observe in your community?
Not really. We're a very small town. We do have 2 convenient stores here.
Yeah.
But as far as going to a grocery store, it's at least 10 to 12 miles
Gotcha.
to go to a store to buy food.
Yeah. Do you know what the closest one is? Big grocery store? Ingalls.
We only have one. That would be in Madison.
Okay. Yeah.
That's our closest big town. We have Ingalls there, and then we have Walmart.
Gotcha. Okay.
For reference, Madison is almost 10 miles away from Buckhead, which means that it's a minimum of 7 miles just to get groceries. During Megan's interview, Nancy also mentioned the Morgan County bus system, which does travel to the grocery store. However, riders are expected to pay a fee, and from Virginia's earlier interview, it's been established that the bus system is both time-consuming and unreliable. With no reliable public transportation options, individuals without a car are left with few options for food.
What public health/nutrition services are you aware of in your community? I guess
The lower income people can get help from the county or through like the DFACs, things like that, where they can get food stamps or whatever.
Okay.
Well, no, I'll take that. There are some community food banks that do have food giveaways. Most of them, I think, are just once a month, and I know there's at least 2 that actually give away food.
Okay. Do they come here, or is it
No, you have to go to them, and that would be in Madison.
Okay.
Once again, the issue appears of resources being located away from the people that need them. Even though food banks are an option, needy residents must travel in order to get food from them. This isn't viable due to the fact that most individuals who would need these resources probably don't have their own mode of transportation. This relegates needy community members to rely on local convenience stores for food during times that they can't catch the bus or find a ride to get fresh food. Despite all the issues Nancy addressed, she was unable to think of a single health problem that plagues her community. This just shows that most people are simply unaware of the variety of health complications that follow from limited access to healthy food, especially when they aren't being directly affected by the complications themselves. The next stop is Rutledge, which is on the opposite side of the county from Buckhead, west from Madison. Beth traveled there and was able to interview Tyler Hooks, the sheriff of Morgan County.
Name and occupation. First name is perfect.
Yeah, I'm Tyler Hooks. I'm the sheriff of Morgan County.
And how long have you lived in Morgan County?
I've lived here full-time since 2019, so it's 6 years.
Okay. As a resident of Morgan County, what nutrition and public health related problems do you observe in your community?
Oh wow, that's tough. Well, so we have a jail. Like in our jail, we found a lot of the inmates that come in, they don't really eat healthy. So when it comes to options, we do have some locally grown farmers that have beef and vegetables, but I don't think a lot of people utilize the resources that we do have. They want to go for convenience and they want something quick now. But there are avenues that we do need to advertise. Like we have a community garden, the 5th Street Garden in Madison, that helps educate folks on how to eat healthy. And then obviously we have Farm View, and there's local agriculture and farms that we need to, as a community, advertise better, I think, so we can eat healthier. But as our society as a whole, we don't eat very healthy. We're more about convenience. I want to eat now so I can move on to the next task, and that's for our diets.
Wow, that's awesome.
While the sheriff does make a compelling argument about societal tendencies, he only reinforces the same patterns we've seen throughout the county. The individuals who are fortunate enough to be able to reliably access and afford fresh, healthy food are unaware of the hardships that less fortunate community members actively face. He even blames health issues on lifestyle choices, which, while may be true, are definitely not the crux of the problem that Morgan County is facing. The main resources that the sheriff mentions for healthy food access are the Garden, which is located in Madison, and Farm View, a farm-to-table store, which charges a premium for its products.
Yeah. What public health and nutrition services are you aware of in your county? I know you mentioned like the garden.
Yep, so we have a 5th Street Garden. So there's not much other than the health department. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that we really have here.
Even the sheriff isn't well versed in the public health resources his county has to offer. Morgan County has its own UGA Extension office, which is a great resource for health and nutrition, as well as agricultural and financial support. The last interview was conducted by Lucy, who traveled to Bostwick, a small town located north of Madison. She was able to secure an interview with the battalion chief of Bostwick, Alan